Hello friends, Baba here. I wanted to make a short video about something that I introduced in the first video of this Revitalized Zen YouTube series, which is Ancestor practice in Zen and in Revitalized Zen. I'll start by telling a little story, little memory from about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I did a session in a Soto lineage with a lineage teacher. I won't say who it was or where it happened, because that's not the point. But at the end of that session, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 day session. At the end of the session, like is often done, there was a refuge ceremony, a lay refuge ceremony called Jukai, with where students or relatively new students take bodhisattva vows formally, and the 5 precepts, and so on. So there was this refuge ceremony that lasted maybe, excuse me, it's morning here, and it's still, my throat is, how do you say, rough. And that ceremony lasted for maybe 45 minutes, something like that, like they usually do. And during that ceremony, there was this maybe 10 pages, 10 A4s of the ceremony, where the teacher and the Sangha, the group, and those who take the refuge go through certain things, certain prayers, certain vows, and so on. I actually, just by coincidence, I was going through my stuff the other day, and I actually found that stack of A4s from that very ceremony when I was kind of thinking of this topic, and I ended up finding it the same day from one move box. So in that ceremony, like is customary in Zen Buddhism, again and again Shakyamuni Buddha is mentioned, because Shakyamuni Buddha is the founder of Buddha Dharma in our time. And he was mentioned, and his presence and his importance and his power was mentioned again and again and again through this 10-page ceremony that lasted that 45 minutes or so. And by then, this was 2015 or 16, maybe, not sure. But by then I had spent, I started my Zen practice early on in my yogic path. I practiced and learned, was very fortunate to learn Zen calligraphy, Hitsuzendo, from Terayama Roshi. Terayama Roshi was the head teacher, headmaster of Hitsuzenkai, the Hitsuzendo school of Zen calligraphy in Japan. And part of that Zen calligraphy study, which is actually part of traditional Zen too, big part of Zen calligraphy is sensing and feeling Bokki. Bokki means pure energy that is stored in the ink that you use a brush and black ink to write calligraphy or to paint pictures. Often these funny pictures, Zenga, they are called. And then, if somebody who has some level of realization, has gone through these kenshos and satoris and daikotettes, or is even a realized Buddha, then automatically the energy of that realization, the energetic component of it, is transmitted into the calligraphy, into the art piece. And this is why art pieces, calligraphies by famous masters, even from centuries ago, are so sought after. I used to run a Zen art gallery many years ago, and I've collected Zen art, and I'm really happy that I have a pretty extensive collection of all these artworks. So anyway, I had studied with Terayama Roshi, and then switched to esoteric practices, tantric yoga, tantric Buddhism, where I studied even more and in depth this energetic component, element of enlightened mind, of our enlightened mind. So when that refuge ceremony took place, and the Sangha and the teacher started chanting these prayers, inviting Shakyamuni Buddha's presence and so on, his presence, he came over in an instant, and it was absolutely beautiful in that ceremony, like in all ceremonies. This was a point that I made in the first video of this series. This beautiful presence of Shakyamuni Buddha and the lineage masters. This, I remember it was held in this countryside Zen center, training center, and in the big meditation hall there, which was like a big, maybe 80 square meter hall with a wooden floor, nice wooden floor, and the whole room was completely, it felt like, and it feels like, as if the air becomes thick. Sometimes it even feels that the air becomes thick like mud, that it really becomes dense, the air. Why? Because of this active presence, actual presence, in this case of Shakyamuni Buddha and the lineage masters of that Soto lineage, going through Indian patriarchs, Chinese patriarchs, and then Japanese patriarchs. Okay, and it had been a while that I had joined a Zen sesshin, and when I joined that sesshin and that ceremony, I was kind of blown away that, wow, this is real, this is beautiful, and this is great. And at the same time, I was observing others and the teacher joining that ceremony, and I was seeing that they were not feeling, they were not noticing the presence of Shakyamuni and the lineage masters. They were not connected with that energy. They were not connected with it, despite of, inviting Shakyamuni Buddha and the lineage masters. They missed that they were actually actively present with us. And to check my observation of this disconnect, I asked that Zen teacher immediately after the ceremony. He's a really nice guy. I haven't been in touch with him in a number of years now, but I met him in Europe and then met him in Japan. We had lovely time together. So I went to ask him after the ceremony that, Sensei, did you notice, are you aware that there was this charge in the room? And he just said that, no, I've never noticed that. And this is the same point that I was making in the first video of blessings of the past Zen masters, in relation to morning services, when the names of the lineage masters, Teidai Dempo, Bussono Myogo, what it's called in Rinzai lineage, Teidai Dempo, when it is chanted, It's the same thing, that that charge is there, but it is not pointed out. It is not pointed out, and people don't really know that it's there, which is a silly thing to say. It's a kind of weird thing to say, but that is the case. I've seen it over and over in Zen groups, in several Zen groups, that they don't know that it's there because it's not pointed out. This is actually a very common thing in tantric side as well. It is not pointed out that in tantric Buddhism there is a practice called guru yoga, where Shakyamuni Buddha or Padmasambhava or Milarepa or any of these great masters are invited through short or long prayers or short or long mantras, and they always come, they always arrive to the person who's saying the prayers or the group who's saying them together, but it is not pointed out, it is not discussed that there is an energetic element, energetic presence that these masters have, and that when that presence, when the masters arrive, then you should stop saying those prayers and stop repeating mantras and simply receive. So this is guru yoga that is practiced by millions and millions of tantric Buddhists. It's also a practice in Hinduism. It's practiced even in Christianity, you know, when people pray to Jesus, right? So it's a universal practice, common actually in Taoism also. It's the same practice in all these religions and contemplative traditions. So I've seen this many times in Zen groups, in morning services, in refuge ceremonies, even in when somebody, I don't now remember the Japanese name of, when somebody is authorized as a teacher and there's a ceremony for that, even in those ceremonies, and there's a disconnect. And okay, well, let me go back a little bit. So let's think about the Buddhist theory, the Mahayana Buddhist theory. So Buddhism teaches that there are 6 samsaric realms, 6 realms where deluded beings who don't know that they are Buddhas, where they circulate from one life to the next, from one birth to next reincarnation. Human beings, animals, hungry ghosts, demons, half gods, demigods, and gods. 6 classes of beings, 6 main realms. And then, according to Mahayana Buddhist theory, outside of those 6 samsaric realms, there are Buddhas. There are only Buddhas outside that samsaric huge engine, this machine where beings are bound by karma. So Buddhas are the only beings who are outside of it. And this means that, you know, to become a Buddha, like Shakyamuni Buddha and many, many others in Zen lineage, in other lineages, one has to, in a bit technical terms, go through or transcend time and space. One has to see through time and space. And that means that we need to realize emptiness, which means realizing the emptiness of selflessness of the self-delusion that we have. And we need to also realize the emptiness of other. Twofold emptiness, it is said in Buddhist theory, that we need to realize twofold emptiness. And in that way, we transcend space, where the self is located, and time where the self is also located. These two main modalities of emptiness realization. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I'm not, I don't mean to confuse anybody. This is something that I have extensively discussed and also written the 3 books that I've linked and mentioned several times in Revitalized Zen materials. So I recommend you to read those books. They are free of charge from Amrita Mandala website. There is no Revitalized Zen website yet, but there will be later on where the same books will be available. But so Buddhas, they, through their realization of emptiness and through releasing basic emotional poisons, through releasing basic emotions related to selfishness, they become Buddhas. They have become Buddhas. They have fully tapped, revealed the basic nature, Buddha nature, that is in all of us. And because of that, Buddhas are outside the samsaric system, the 6 realms. Buddhas can, of course, take rebirth and reincarnate if they choose to. They can reincarnate and stay as fully enlightened beings. It's quite rare though. Or they can choose to take steps back and become a samsaric being again. Maybe take a little bit step back from complete purity, complete realization, or they can choose to go fully back and become totally unawakened again, and then go through the path again. So both do occur. So yes, this is the basic theory that Buddhas are outside the whole samsaric system that samsaric beings are bound to. Are bound to because of this sense of self, delusion, and karma that it constantly generates. So that karma needs to be, neutralized or nullified in order for us to return our original pure state of a Buddha. So this is a basic theory, and this means that Buddhas are beyond time and space, which means what, practically? And this is something that I discussed in that first video where I was quoting Tangen Roshi, who was a recent Japanese Zen master of the Soto tradition, who I feel extremely fortunate to have met, left a lasting impression. And Tangen Roshi said something quite unusual for a Zen master before he passed away. He said that after I die, you all can call me and I will respond. And now I'm getting to, I mentioned how this so-called Guru Yoga is practiced in Tantric Buddhism, how Shakyamuni responded during that ceremony, how Shakyamuni and all the lineage masters respond in every morning service in monasteries, in Zen centers through the world. And yet, we don't know this. We don't understand this. We don't have know-how. We don't see and feel that they are actually present with us. And why do they become present? Why do they respond to these prayers? Well, there's a very, very simple reason for that, which is that they are supporting us who are practicing bodhisattvas, practitioners who have vowed to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings, like it says in the first Bodhisattva vow. They come to support us, to help us, exactly the same way as our Zen teachers and masters who we have a personal physical relationship with, who show us the way, who give us instructions, who help us with their verbal instructions and advice, but also through their energetic presence, through their realization, through their Kensho, Satori, Daigotete, Buddhahood. Exactly in that same way, Sakyamuni Buddha and the Buddhas before him in the lineage, Buddhas after him in the lineage, they constantly keep coming to us through these prayers. And often, my experience has been that they really do care about us. They really do care about us, and they arrive to us and come to us even without invitation. And I don't mean like uninvited in a bad manner. And again, I'm not talking about some random ghosts or something like this, which is another topic relevant to Zen Buddhism. But I'm talking about Buddhas who have transcended their self-delusion, have seen through their self-delusion, have purified and healed their selfishness, their underlying emotional poisons, healed their traumas, have transcended space and time, which means, to use this, I don't really like this word, but they have become omnipresent. Omnipresent. So this is the reason why, Sakyamuni Buddha, 2,500 years ago, he lived in northern India, and yet he is still present. He is still available to us because he has transcended time and space. So he's not bound by time and space like we samsaric beings are, but has transcended it. And this is the principle why Christians who pray can still feel Jesus' presence, why Tantric Buddhists can feel Padmasambhava's presence, who lived 1,200 years ago. It's that same principle. And that same principle applies to Shakyamuni Buddha and all the Buddhas of the Zen lineages. So if I may, I will share a little bit of my personal experience. I said that, the Buddhas in the Zen lineage, when we think of Zen, we often associate with this kind of very masculine, quite strict, sometimes rigid training system and tradition. And for example, Bodhidharma or Huineng, sixth patriarch Huineng, or other masters, they are, in paintings, they are depicted as grumpy, looking grumpy. But Buddhas are not grumpy. Buddhas can be dynamic. Ha! Very dynamic energy can be there, but that is not grumpy. Any teacher or master can display this fierce, wrathful, very dynamic energy and scold students. I actually think that, that's a different matter. There can be very dynamic expression, but that is different from samsaric grumpiness or samsaric anger. So I think it's a very one-sided and kind of incorrect that these Buddhas like Bodhidharma or Huineng or others are depicted as these grumpy figures. Because my experience is that through having met these masters many times, having felt their presence, their energy, their blessings with me inside my heart, having effect, having a clarifying effect on my mind, my energy, soothing, stabilizing, grounding effect of through their presence. I can say that they are not grumpy and, well, in a sense, serious, but not strict, not restricted, like samsaric beings are. So, my point is that I'm talking about this ancestor practice. Practice with ancestors, our lineage ancestors. So lineages, all lineages, the list of Teida Dempo, names of lineage masters, there are lineage holders there who have not attained Buddhahood. And because of that, they are, categorically samsaric beings who are forced to take rebirth because of their unfinished karma, unfinished emptiness realization, unfinished selfishness, impurified selfishness. But at the same time, all Zen lineages have fully enlightened Buddhas, those who have realized Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, Anokutara Samyaku Sambodai. It is in Japanese in Heart Sutra that Zen Buddhists recite on daily basis. So this is the point that I wanted to make, that there are these enlightened Buddhas whose names we recite in our daily practice, in our daily service, and they respond every time. And this is a practice that I want to include in Revitalized Zen, not only chanting, reciting the names of the lineage masters, but stopping and feeling their love, their care, their support. And, I've been a teacher of Tantric Yoga, both Tantric Buddhism and Tantric Hinduism for over 16 years now, professionally, full time. So I've done a lot of Guru Yoga. I've done a lot of ancestor practice with Buddhas over these years. And I've taught it to hundreds and hundreds of people. And because, again, this happens in Zen practice in all Zen centers of the world, in all monasteries groups, I simply want to point out that there is this energetic element to these prayers, to the presence of the masters, and if we feel it, we are receptive to it, kind of like enjoying the light and warmth of the sun on a sunny summer day, taking it in the same way, taking in the blessings and support and protection of the patriarchs and matriarchs. There are females in that Teida Dempo as well. So this is what I want to, I'm kind of at the moment starting to go through the practices of Revitalized Zen, and this was something that I wanted to make a second part of this blessings of the past Zen masters and discuss this ancestor practice. And I feel that it is very, very useful and helpful. Very few traditions in history and at present, very few sanghas there are teachers or a teacher or a master who is a fully enlightened Buddha. Extremely few. I doubt that there are any living Buddhas in Zen traditions at the moment. Tangenrossi was one, but I'm not sure if there was any other one the past 100 years. So we simply we understand that if we have a living Buddha as a master who we study with, or we have somebody who's had maybe only 2 or 3 kenshos, 2 or 3 awakening experiences, we can understand that there is a huge difference between the two. Even, we can theoretically understand it even if we haven't felt it. What's the difference? I have felt it. I know exactly what the difference is, and it is great. But through ancestor practice, we can all have access to fully enlightened Buddhas. And this is what Tangenrossi was saying, that even if I die and you call me, I will respond. And this is the way how all Buddhas of all times and places, having transcended time and space, time and place, how they are responding to us in everyday practice. So I just want to point out and bring it into Revitalized Zen that they are present with us. And they want to help us to become Buddhas like they are. Thank you very much, my friends. Hope to hear from you. Please leave comments and questions. We have a Facebook group called Revitalized Zen. You're welcome to visit, welcome to join it, and welcome to ask questions and leave comments. Okay, thank you very much, and see you in the next one. Have a nice weekend.